If I don't become wealthy, will I suffer? There is a particular form of suffering that exists only in the imagination, the suffering of anticipated poverty, the pain of projected inadequacy, the anguish of imagined future lack. This suffering can consume years of present experience while the feared future may never materialize. But observe what actually creates this suffering. It is not the absence of wealth itself, but the story the mind tells about what that absence means. The narrative that equates financial limitation with personal failure, that connects modest means with diminished worth, that suggests happiness requires a specific net worth threshold. Watch a child playing in a cardboard box, completely absorbed in imaginative adventure. There is no awareness of the box's monetary value, no calculation of what it represents economically. The joy is immediate, complete, independent of any financial consideration. The child has not yet learned to measure happiness in dollars. But somewhere in the process of growing up, we absorb a different equation. We begin to believe that our internal state directly correlates with our external accumulation. The mind constructs an elaborate mythology. Below this income level, I will be miserable. Without this savings amount, I will be insecure. Unless I achieve this wealth status, I will not be respected. These are not observations of reality. These are stories we tell ourselves about reality. The interesting thing is that these stories have remarkable power over present experience. Someone earning a comfortable living can suffer intensely from the fear of future financial inadequacy. Their actual circumstances may be perfectly adequate, but their imagined future circumstances create genuine distress. This is suffering manufactured by thought, pain created by projection. Consider the billions of people throughout history who have lived without what we now consider wealth, yet who have experienced profound joy, deep love, creative fulfillment, spiritual peace. Were they all deluded about their own experience? Or might there be something about happiness that operates independently of financial resources? There are wealthy individuals who report persistent dissatisfaction, chronic anxiety about losing their fortune, endless worry about whether they have enough. Their wealth has not eliminated suffering, it has simply given them expensive versions of the same fundamental human concerns. Conversely, there are people of modest means who report extraordinary contentment. They have discovered something that money cannot purchase, the ability to be present to life as it actually is, rather than constantly comparing it to an imagined ideal. This suggests that the relationship between wealth and suffering is far more complex than our cultural narratives suggest. What if suffering is not caused by external circumstances, but by our resistance to external circumstances? What if happiness has less to do with what we have and more to do with how we relate to what we have? The mind that fears poverty is often the same mind that would fear wealth if it achieved it. It is a mind that has learned to find problems with any situation, to discover inadequacy in any circumstance. Such a mind can be poor and suffer from the lack of money, or rich and suffer from the fear of losing money. The quality that suffers is not the bank account balance. It is the mechanism of comparison, judgment, and resistance that operates independent of financial status. But this observation does not dismiss the very real challenges that financial limitation can create. Lack of resources can indeed cause genuine hardship, difficulty accessing healthcare, education, safe housing, adequate nutrition. These are not merely psychological concerns but practical realities that affect quality of life. The interesting question is whether we can acknowledge these practical challenges without adding unnecessary psychological suffering to them. Can we address financial limitations as problems to be solved rather than as judgments about our worth or destiny? There's a difference between the practical inconvenience of limited resources and the existential suffering we add to that inconvenience through our interpretations and projections. Someone facing genuine financial hardship might reasonably work to improve their situation while maintaining inner equanimity. They can take practical steps without drowning in stories about what their circumstances mean about them as a person. The path to wealth may or may not unfold for any given individual. Economic factors, personal circumstances, health challenges, global conditions, all these influence financial outcomes in ways largely beyond individual control. But the capacity for contentment, for peace, for joy, these seem to operate according to different principles entirely. They can emerge in any circumstances, require no specific external conditions, depend on no particular level of accumulation. Perhaps the question is not, will I suffer without wealth? But can I be at peace regardless of wealth? This is not about positive thinking or denying financial realities. This is about discovering what in human experience remains stable, regardless of external fluctuations. There are people who have moved from poverty to wealth and back to modest means, yet who report that their fundamental sense of well-being remained more constant than their bank balance. They learned that contentment comes from a different source than accumulation. In the space between financial anxiety and financial complacency, something more balanced emerges. A practical engagement with money that neither fears it nor worships it. That works skillfully with resources without being enslaved by the belief that happiness depends on accumulating them. Can we prepare for financial security while remaining unattached to achieving it? Can we work toward abundance while finding peace with enough? Can we engage with money as a useful tool while recognizing that our essential well-being comes from elsewhere? What is this that needs no wealth to be content? This peace that fluctuates with no market? This satisfaction that depends on no accumulation?